I'm Rick Lewis with Phenom Hoop Report. On today's Coaching Corner, I have a bright new star in the coaching profession, Ryan Bernardi, and congratulations on being named AD at the Burlington School at the age of 22.
Thanks, Rick. Really appreciate you having me on. Hope you and your wife are doing well through all this.
We're doing well. Coach, you were born and raised in Boston, Massachusetts, and you attended Elon University. How did you make the connection between Boston and Burlington, North Carolina?
Sure. You come on to this area on all the college visits. So me and my dad went to Duke, Carolina, Wake Forest, Clemson. But there's something about Elon's campus that really is breathtaking, and I wanted to go back, and I knew I wanted to be a manager, Rick. So there was a draw to Elon that it was a smaller program. Someone gave me great advice that if you're choosing to be a manager, getting in with a smaller program can really help you get in quick, and I was able to do that. And it was also the first school I got accepted to. It's like when guys get their first offer from a place.
Right.
It was the first school that took me. So, I'm really happy with the decision.
Well, Elon is a beautiful campus. It's absolutely gorgeous. And, I think Coach Froggy is getting the program headed in the right direction. When you were attending Elon, you said you were a manager for 3 years. When did you decide that you want to become a basketball coach?
Yeah, Rick, I've always wanted to impact people's lives. And what better way to do it than through the game of basketball? We always say that basketball is the vehicle, but it's all about impacting lives. I was really lucky in high school to have a lot of experience. When I was in 8th grade, I helped my mom coach my sister's 5th grade travel team. While I was in high school, I coached AAU, younger boys and girls. And then at my high school, Tim Quealy and Olivia Rizzo, I was lucky enough to be their assistant on the 8th grade team at my high school. So, I got some experience while I was in high school. I wasn't very good, but I got some experience. And then my experience as a manager, my freshman year, I was at the Carrier Dome when we played Syracuse. I was at Cameron Indoor when we played Duke. Great relationships made with the staff at Elon. And, that kind of solidified it. But I've had a good idea for a while that what better way to impact people's lives than through the game of basketball?
Well, your senior year at Elon, this is pretty amazing. Your senior year at Elon, you became the head coach at Burlington Christian Academy. How in the world did that come about?
Yeah. So, a few lucky coincidences went into that, Rick. First, I coached an AAU team, and we practiced out of their gym at BCA. So I've had run-ins with their athletic director while I was a manager at Elon. The AD had a history of hiring young. The coach at BCA before me was hired young. Renee Neff, who's the athletic director, she's an out-of-the-box thinker. And she told that to me when she called me the first time, that she's not about the status quo, and she was willing to think outside of the box. I had some great relationships through Elon and the BCA community. One was Brian Baker, who really was instrumental in helping me. And the other was Coach Matt Matheny. Coach Matheny, who was the head coach at Elon while I was there, his son was at BCA. So he did really grateful to him for the advice and the recommendation that he gave to me for BCA. I'll never forget when I got offered the job, I went to our assistants at Elon, like JB Tanner and Jack Wooten, went to their houses late at night, and they really helped me make my decision to become a head coach going into my senior year. And it was a hard decision because I loved my time as a manager at Elon and had to give up my senior year as a manager, but really grateful that I made that decision.
But you still attended school and had classwork, and you're also being a head coach, so it's a full-time job. How did you balance out the coaching profession at the age of 21 and being a college student?
Rick, at times it was similar to being the head manager, right? So I was the head manager my junior year, so I had to balance my schedules during my junior year. I think if you ask this question to some of my professors during my senior year, they may have a different answer than me and say I didn't manage it as well. I think the professors knew when I was playing games, had games that day. I'd be a little bit more locked into my computer, maybe sneaking in a little film on the split screen during class. But overall, something that being a manager prepared me for. I really think for, guys thinking about going into coaching, if you're not a high level player, the next best thing to do is to become a manager, because it prepares you for a lot of things you're going to have to do as a coach. One was time management. So, my grades hung in there my senior year, and lucky enough that I completed a lot of my classes during my first 3 years. But I'd be curious if you asked my professors my senior year if they said that I managed it well.
Well, your first year at the age of 21, you led Burlington Christian Academy to 21-9, and you advanced to the quarterfinals. What lessons did you learn along the way in your first year of coaching?
Yeah, that was a special year, Rick, because I was so young and so new to it. Everything I did was new and for the first time for me. But then for our school, it was a school that wanted to be successful, and maybe had never experienced the success and the energy that we brought that year. One thing, I was extremely lucky. Good coaches are made by good players. And I get hired at BCA, and Brock Williams, Colin Wilson, and Ryan Roberts are already at the school. So there's a great deal of luck in this, where I feel really fortunate because, you can't be a good coach without good players. So we walk into a situation with those guys, and a few things I've learned from that year. The first was that everything falls on you when you're the head coach. There's this book, Extreme Ownership, which really says it well. It's that it's always your fault when things go wrong. So, if we didn't clean up the gym, if our players weren't dressed the right way, if our players misbehaved in class, the behavior of our team and everything in our program was a reflection of me as the head coach. So that took some time getting used to. The other thing that great learning experience from that first year, Rick, was the difference of being task oriented versus plan oriented. So being a manager is very task oriented. You have a laundry list of things you need to complete. It's a checklist that you try to check off, and you finish. As a head coach, it's way more plan oriented. So figuring out what's next. You're always asking what's next. Strategic planning. How can we prepare for the future? So it was a magical year. I'm really thankful for that year. We had some great high moments as well, but learned a lot during my first year at BCA.
Well, last year you were named the head coach at the Burlington School, and the Burlington School's had a pretty good reputation in the past. They won some state championships under Ron Johnson. Last year you went 25-11. You played a national schedule, so this is your second year as a head coach. You took some lumps early, but in all fairness, you played some national level teams. You were playing Moravian Prep, Combine, Word of God, Greenfield, Piedmont Classical, Carmel Christian, Greensboro Day. The list goes on and on. And then, of course, you guys were invited to the John Wall. What was it like that last season, playing such a tough schedule, and how did it prepare, down the road and trying to make that state playoff run?
Sure. I think the first thing, Rick, when you play a schedule like that, is the coaches that you go up against. And we played some just terrific coaches. And one thing it made me realize was that I didn't have my team very well prepared early in the season. Like I said, we had a good year at BCA. I thought I kind of had it figured out, and I learned very quickly that I didn't. And I had to get a whole lot better, and I had to get my team more prepared. So from our team's perspective, I think it taught us how to handle adversity. We come in with a lot of hype and a lot of expectations and a lot of people talking about us. And that locker room at Carmel Christian, when we played Combine and we lose 60-32, it's something that we weren't prepared for. But I think just day by day, learning how to handle adversity, learning how to, bounce back and wake up the next morning. I would always text my staff after a loss like that and say, wow, I'm shocked the sun came up today, because it just didn't feel like it after a loss like that. Something that being a manager taught me, Rick, is to not make every loss be like the end of the world, or it's going to be a really long season. In college, staffs are under immense pressure to win and to keep their jobs. And so we really tried to keep our environment lighter and tried to, help our guys learn how to handle adversity. But when you talk about what it did for our team playing that schedule, the first thing, and it's the most important thing, is that all 5 of our basketball playing seniors are playing in college next year. And 3 of them are on full scholarships. So that accomplishment, I think, is tied into the schedule we played, because we were on the right stage in front of coaches, getting the appropriate amount of exposure, even though the losses accumulated. And then it prepared us for the state playoffs. Playing Combine twice, playing at Greensboro Day, playing at Carmel, playing in the John Wall, playing in environments like we played in, helped us win a home game against United Faith. And Josh does a really good job. They have college level players. And we just kind of were a buzzsaw that night and played really well. And then helped us at a neutral site beat Greenfield. And Rob's one of the best in the state. It was a great environment, really felt like a championship-like game. And we're able to pull away down the stretch, I think in large part because of the schedule we played. So the schedule helped our team prepare, but it also helped our players get more exposure. And I think that's a huge benefit to playing the schedule that we played and will continue to play.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head and made a good point about managing expectations, because at the beginning of the season, there was a lot of high expectations on the team because you had Quell Mating, you had Malijah Petit, you had Jaden Michael, and a host of others. So I would imagine that would be the tough thing, because at the beginning of the year, you have the expectations, and sometimes that's the toughest thing to manage.
Absolutely, Rick. It was new for everybody. A lot of our players hadn't played on a team with that type of hype. I'd only coached for 1 year, so it was new for me. But the off season was great. So the summer and fall were tremendous. We had awesome workouts because of the level of talent. We had 62 coaches in our gym in the fall. So the off season was great. There was one thing in the off season, Rick, that I think really helped us manage expectations, and that was our preseason retreat. So my teams will always go the weekend before the season. We'll go to a lake house. We take away our players' phones, and we just do team building activities for a full weekend. And I think we talked a lot about handling adversity. I think it brought our team a lot closer. When you remove phones and you remove distractions, I think the level of closeness that we got on our preseason retreat really helped us prepare for the adversity and manage expectations. But like I said, the locker room after the Combine game, the locker room after Greensboro Day, you walk down that hallway, it was one of the loneliest walks I've ever had, after the Greensboro Day loss. And it just feels like the world's caving in on you. But relationships are key. We come back to this time and time again, that the relationship that our staff had with our team, the relationships our team had with each other, helped us hang in there, helped us just continue to battle day in, day out. I think relationships, the level of closeness we had with our players and the team had with each other, helped us a lot, Rick.
I remember you beating Greenfield, and it came down to the last 2 minutes. But I remember interviewing after the game, and I think along the way you had the expectations, and then you lost Jaden Michael. I think his brother Jaleel was also lost for the state playoffs. So losing a player like Jaden, a lot of people, you know what, the expectations weren't as high. So some people sort of counted you guys out. But I thought, and I made this comment to you in our interview after that Greenfield game, I thought you did one of the best things as a young coach is you made a big time adjustment. And the adjustment was getting the ball more inside to Malijah Petit. And I thought that was the turning point, because he was a situation where he was a go-to player. And if he didn't get the ball and make it, he got fouled, and he was a great free throw shooter.
Sure. So you're right. We lost Jaden Michael, who's going to Elon. We lost Jaleel Michael, who's going to Mars Hill. And then we also lost Jesse Walters, who's going to Guilford.
Right.
So we were without 3 of our seniors. The big thing for us was that, in our day-to-day operations, nothing changed. We still prepared the same way. We still watched film. We still practiced as hard as we did. So that was one. That was nothing really changed from our internal expectations. Big credit, I think, for our improvement late in the year goes to a staff meeting This is a lesson that I've learned as a coach too, is that you've got to meet with your staff and you've got to include your assistants, and they need to feel empowered. And I didn't do a great job of that early in the season, but we had an awesome staff meeting on a Saturday morning for about 3 hours. And from that moment forward, we had a real clear vision and a clear plan for what we wanted to do without our seniors because of injury. So Malijah was absolutely a huge part of that. You're right. Malijah, he scored at a high percentage. He shot free throws at a high percentage, but he's also a great passer.
Mm-hmm.
So you throw it into Malijah, and he throws, these passes to the weak side, and it's just really hard to guard. Kuel really emerged late in the season, and Kuel started playing harder. He started finding his groove. He turned the ball over less. Another big thing about our late season run was an 8th grader named Zion Walker. Zion Walker came in after a good JV season and was just a force in our state playoffs. And then the last thing about our team down the stretch, Rick, which I think is a good lesson, is that our guys felt comfortable in their roles. We only had 7 or 8 active players. So all of a sudden, they're not looking over their shoulder. They're not as worried about being subbed out when they make a mistake. I think our guys started to feel comfortable that they could make mistakes and play free without the worry of having to be subbed out because we'd had, 11, 12, even 13 players like we had at the start of the year. So, and then it's a credit to our schedule. The schedule prepared us down the stretch. But it's a huge loss. Losing Jaden, Jaleel, and Jesse were huge losses. The last thing on that, Rick, is that those 3 were tremendous on the bench, in our meetings, and in practice. They stayed engaged. It's a huge testament to their character. One day I made a comment that they were over on the sidelines in practice. I called them the Peanut Gallery, and that just stuck on. We called them the Peanut Gallery all year, and the Peanut Gallery was a huge reason for our success late in the year.
Well, you mentioned Quell. I just spoke to Jeff Battle yesterday at Providence, and I saw later in the day that Providence offered him, which I think is a good level for Quell and a good situation there as far as the offer is concerned. But I do agree with you as far as the teammates that were sidelined with injuries. When I was at the game, the one thing that really impressed me sitting across from you guys was how hard those 3 seniors who were not playing, how hard they were cheering for the team.
Absolutely. It's a huge testament, I think, back to our preseason retreat. Our guys felt together, and they felt like a family and felt bought in. We'll never forget the locker room after the state championship loss. And the 3 guys who maybe were most emotional were the 3 guys who weren't playing.
Right.
Jesse, Jaleel, and Jaden. That's a huge sign of their character. We just got a text today in our group chat from Jaden. And Jaden told our guys returning, hey, don't forget that feeling in the state championship locker room. So can't say enough about those 3 who were injured and our other seniors for just helping us stay steady throughout a bumpy year.
Coach, what would you think the biggest lesson you learned from last year?
Yeah, I think one is fit versus talent accumulation. So you need a roster that fits. And I think we had a lot of talent and people loved our talent, but I don't know how well our roster fit together on the court.
Right.
So I think that's a big takeaway, is that, put together a roster, or, have guys that fit and play well together. The other thing is that it just solidified how important relationships are. I think if our relationship with our team and our team's relationships with each other weren't as strong as they were, I think we could have crumbled. And I think at the adversity we faced, it could have all kind of faded away. And then the last thing is just, no matter how talented you are, every team will face adversity. It's going to happen. And that's why basketball is a vehicle to prepare you for life, because me and you know well that in life, you're going to hit adversity.
Absolutely.
And in life, you're going to have challenges. So if our guys as 16, 17, and 18-year-olds can hit some adversity in a controlled environment, which is high school basketball, hopefully when they face it when they're 30 and have a wife and kids, they're at least somewhat prepared.
Well, you talk about fit, and I can go back and remember talking to Steve Smith at Oak Hill and the way he would try to assemble a team. And he was always looking for that fit, like, okay, I need a point guard, and I need a shooting guard. I need a small forward. I need a power forward. I need a center. Not to load up on, getting too many people at the same position. And I think that really dovetails with what you said about the fit is concerned. Now, You had a lot of magical moments this past year. You went 25-11. You were just an eyelash away from winning a state championship. What other moment during the course of the season will you look back and say that was a magical moment for me as a coach and also for the school?
Sure. A couple stand out. First is the retreat, and I've talked about that a couple times here, but just that experience of being with a group of guys and growing closer and learning more about each other out off the court was a magical experience. And the next kind of happened mid-season, and that was the Jaden Michaels buzzer beater at the John Wall. Just
What
to
a
be
great.
included, just to be included in that event was off the charts. Uh, we didn't play all that well against Garner, but just found a way to hang around. Isaiah Escobar made huge contributions late in that fourth quarter. And Jaden, at that time, it was just really making shots. So we get a big stop. Isaiah guards the ball. K walls off at the rim. We get a huge stop. K doesn't turn it over. He doesn't travel. He passes it to Jaden, and Jaden just calm, cool, and collected. Everyone in the gym's yelling, shoot, shoot. But Jaden takes an extra dribble to get close to the three-point line and 1 foot bank and just the mob after, the locker room after. That was a special moment. And then the third was the pregame and postgame locker room after the Greenfield game. We have a player on our team named Lars Nielsen, and he's from Norway. And he had 8 guys from his school in Norway, along with his coach from Norway, at that Greenfield game. And we brought him into our locker room before the game and then after. And just to be able to celebrate and enjoy that win with some guys from, overseas that were close to Lars was a really cool moment. So those 3 stand out.
Coach, you're 22 years old. You've been coaching for 2 years. What's the biggest pressure you face as a young coach?
Yeah, the biggest is from myself. I want our teams to be prepared. I want our guys to get better. So that's the biggest pressure is that, I'm going to always reflect and I'm going to always, hold myself to a standard of helping our guys be prepared and get better. I think another one, Rick, is like you said, being a young guy, there's a lot of coaches who haven't had the breaks that I have had. I've had a lot of lucky breaks, in terms of there are 2 private schools in Burlington. Very easily during my 4 years at Elon, there could have been 2 lifetimers at these 2 schools in Burlington, and I wouldn't have gotten a crack. And both opened up at times that I've been able to take jobs, and then both have had significant talent when I've taken the job. So I've been very lucky and very blessed and feel very fortunate. And I know that some other coaches have had to pay their dues a heck of a lot longer. So I think the pressure of, those lucky breaks and still being able to perform as a coach and our teams perform despite the lucky breaks, right? Success is the combination of opportunity and preparation. So I've definitely had the opportunities and just kind of the pressure I put on myself to make sure our teams are prepared.
Coach, who's had the biggest impact to you on your coaching philosophy?
That's a great question, Rick. Obviously my time at Elon, Coach Matheny, his organization, his attention to detail, the way he, everything mattered. He said sloppiness was a disease. So I think from that standpoint, Coach Matheny was crucial. The assistants at Elon, Jack Wooten, Monty Sanders, Chris Long, and JB Tanner, really just spent a lot of time with me one-on-one, spent a lot of time with me, let me be annoying, let me pick their brains. So the staff at Elon was definitely a big factor. And I think, a huge influence on my philosophy of helping people was my parents, because I've been, again, another lucky break. I grew up very blessed and grew up in a great environment, and kind of their push to me to help other people was a big, formation of my coaching philosophy. And then just done some research, and I'm a Celtics fan, so stuff that Brad Stevens does, X's and O's wise, and we played some teams like William and Mary who ran a lot of Princeton stuff that I like. So,
Well, one thing about it is success breeds success, and you've been successful at the Burlington Christian Academy, now the Burlington School. You had a great roster last year. You had, the seniors that went on to play at the collegiate level. You have some underclassmen that will now be seniors that are going to be highly recruited. Talk about the returning players and any newcomers that are going to be on the roster for the Burlington School this coming year.
Yeah, absolutely. The success breeds success at the Burlington School, and that happened long before me. The Burlington School has a great tradition. Started with Ron Johnson and then Will Robertson. So we feel really lucky to be at a place like the Burlington School that's won 2 state championships, that has double-digit college players, active college players. So that's first off, is really lucky to be at the Burlington School. Um, we love the connectivity of our roster returning, the chemistry that we'll return with. So, it'll be Kuel's team, and Kuel kind of, came in last year as a big name and did a great job at playing his role. He never pouted. We brought Kuel off the bench at times last year. He never pouted, but this will be his team, and he's prepared from a character standpoint and I think from a skill standpoint to make this his team. We returned some great glue seniors. Jay Hladek, who had a great postseason. Isaiah Escobar, who's been with me since day one. We'll have a great senior season. Ryan Roberts, another one who's been with me since day one, will be a junior this year. We bring in Shane Peterson from Western Alamance. Shane Peterson is, he was the conference player of the year. He was conference tournament MVP. So Shane's going to have a big impact on our program on and off the court. And then we bring up an 8th grader named Zion Walker, who will be a 9th grader this year, who really burst onto the scene in the postseason. But I think our group's togetherness, and then, we have a few other great younger classmen, Andrew Schrage, who is Coach Schrage's son, AJ McClary. So there's a lot of talent coming up the ranks, and we're just excited to get back to it when we can.
Mentioned Zion Walker. He attended our Phenom 150 camp earlier in the year, and he was tremendous. He's going to be a bright star, I think, a future star in the state of North Carolina. He'll be one of the top freshmen in the state in the 2024 class.
Absolutely, Rick. Thing we love about Zion is what he does off the court first. He's an awesome student. He's close to a straight A student. The teachers adore him at our school. And then he's another kid, Rick, similar to Kuel, in that Zion played JV this year. And there was murmurs and there was a lot of probably talks to Zion's family that, hey, you should be on varsity. Hey, you should be on varsity. We made the decision for his development to, get him a lot of game minutes on JV. And then when he was called up, he just, took the challenge head on, was phenomenal for us, was a quick learner. So yeah, Zion's going to be a name to look out for. Absolutely.
Well, Coach, I know timing is everything, and you've been very humble as far as where you've been at your point in time in life, being at Elon and the position coming opening. When you're a senior at Elon, becoming the head coach at the age of 21 at the Burlington Christian Academy. Now you're 22 years old. You have 2 years under your belt. The one thing that I will notice about you, Coach, is you may say you've been a little bit lucky along the way, but you create your own luck by your hard work, your work ethic, and also the one thing I've noticed about you over the years, Coach, I've watched you at the travel ball level too, is you're very poised, you're very mature, but most of all, you're very humble. And I think you got the program at the Burlington School heading in the right direction. You're going to be a power in the North Carolina Independent School Athletic Association at the 1A level. And we want to say thank you on behalf of Phenom for coming on Coach's Corner today. And we want to wish you good luck. I know you're going to be playing in a lot of our events this year, so we look forward to seeing your team play.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. It's a great thing you're doing for high school coaches, and really thankful to be a part of it.
Thank you so much.